All right, we're recording. We're going to go ahead and set up our banners now. We are aware that on our project brief, it tells us we have our banners. We have two banners we're creating. We're creating a portrait banner, which is this vertical banner, and a horizontal banner, this horizontal banner. They both need to work together. They're both using the same colors and they're going to be using the same symbol set. Yet all symbols don't have to be on both. You can have some symbols on one banner and other symbols on another banner, and then a lot of ones that copy. You'll see that happening on these two examples. Not all the symbols that are on this vertical banner are on this horizontal banner, and that's okay. So let's go ahead and look at the sizes. We're creating two banners. They're a set. They work together. A landscape banner that's 9.5 inches by 7 inches, and a portrait banner that's 5 inches by 7 inches. So let's go ahead and make those artboards. So I have my artboard menu open. You can find that under Window, Artboards. Now I'm going to go ahead and add an artboard. It's going to just pop up right next to my other one. But it's not the right size. I want to make these artboards the correct size. So I'm going to click on the little artboard symbol and double click. Where's it going? Why am I not getting the sizes? What is happening? I feel like as soon as I'm recording it, now it doesn't want to work. All right. Double clicking. I'm double clicking everywhere. Okay, so this is going to be our landscape banner. Okay. And as I just shared, our landscape banner is 9.5 inches by 7 inches. So we're going to go ahead and make it 9.5 inches by 7 inches high. We're going to make sure our orientation is on landscape and then say okay. And there it is. So now I'm in landscape banner. I'm going to go ahead and make another double click, double click. I'm double clicking on the toolbar. Here we have a portrait banner. So I'm going to label it. Portrait banner. And the width for this is going to be 5 inches. And the height's going to be 7 inches. And you can see it just popped over here and reoriented itself to portrait. That's perfect. I say okay. So now we have our two banners. If I want to move them around, I can be in the artboard tool on our toolbar, hold my shift key down, and I can select both, and I can move these around anywhere if I want. I'm just going to move them away a little bit so they're on their own. Okay, so and I've labeled them here in my artboards. These are the two banners I'm working on. So notice that they are the same height, but different widths. Okay, so we're working two of these. We're making both of them. They're both going to work and hang in different places around our city to promote the symbols that we're talking about. So now that we have those made, the next step is going to be to create a grid. So a couple different ways we can do it. I'm going to show you starting off two different ways to make a grid in Illustrator. The first one is I'm going to take my rectangle tool and draw a rectangle. It's filling still with my pattern, so don't let that freak you out. I'm just going to make it a solid shape, solid color so you can. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it actually this light blue color, make it an outline. And I'm going to go path, and I'm going to say split into grid. Now this little window is going to pop open, and it's going to ask me how. I'm going to say preview because I want to see what it's going to do. And I can ask how many rows I want to do. So I'm going to say 4 rows. how many columns do I want to do? 4 maybe? I don't want to go too tiny with these squares. I want them to be pretty big, but I want to keep them kind of square so I can kind of turn them into rectangles and other bigger squares. I think I'm going to do 5. I'm going to do 4 by 5. You do not have to match this. You can do it any way you want. I want my rows and columns to butt up right against each other without any gaps. However, in this, when you use this feature, you can add what we call gutters, which are spaces between the grids if you wanted to. Now, if we were doing a lot of text or something, I would totally add gutters. Like if I was in type class and we were doing text, I would use gutters. We're not, we're doing symbols, and I really want them to butt right up to each other, the squares. So I'm going to say no gutters for that reason. Okay, so I'm feeling pretty good about this. I'm going to say okay. So now you can see I have these grids here. I'm going to do a couple different things. I'm going to go ahead and use my layers as well. I'm going to go Window, Layers, and I'm going to add a layer that I'm going to call a grid. And I'm going to make and take this, and all I have to do is slide the dot up to grid, and you'll see it changed red because it went to the red layer. And so that if I close that off, I can turn it on and off. That grid is on and off. And this other layer isn't there. I'm going to bring the grid down to the bottom. I'm also going to take this and make a copy of it, Command C, add another layer, and put it on the next layer. In order to get it where I want it, I'm going to undo it. Select that. Well, you know what? I'm just going to line it up with my, doesn't want to grab it. There we go. I'm grabbing it here with my, and I'm going to align it. Oh, no, not with both. Just want to align it. Okay. I'm going to grab that and group it, Command G to group it. It's all separate elements, and align it onto this artboard with my alignment tools up here at the top. And then I'm going to go ahead and take this one. This is a copy, remember? And I'm going to go ahead and go Object or View, Guides, Make Guides. And I'm going to make one set of these just guides. Now I can't access them anymore. They're fully just guides. It's okay. I still have them as actual elements, which I want, but it's nice to have the guides because what I'm going to do next is go into my grid. And again, I'm going to make one more copy of these. Having extra copies just saves you time from recreating it. I'm going to go into my grid copy and look at this and decide how do I want to break up my grid for my colors. So for example, I might want to make this all one square. I'm going to use my shape builder tool and make these all one square. And that means I can now, for example, fill that, select, fill that as a solid color. That's one square now. I can still see my grid because I have it as a guide. So I might do a square there, and then I might want to do these three. I'm going to use my shape builder and select them. and turn those three into a rectangle. And these are things you can go around and kind of determine, how am I breaking up my grid for my different objects? I might put a single object, and I'm just going to give you guys to kind of start thinking about this. Like I might put a single object here, something that's kind of squarish, right? So that's maybe where I'm going to put a single object. And I might do something that is a repeating element that goes down this way. And so the way I'm doing this is I'm giving myself options for how I might want to organize things. So maybe I want to have a rectangle here. Again, I'm using my shape builder to create those elements. And then that can be, I'm going to make it different colors so we can kind of see what we're doing. And so on and so forth. And so now I have this element. And then you have these different pieces you can also move around on your grid. You don't have to keep making every single one of them. But the idea of, how do you want to organize your patterns depending on what you have? Do you have something that's long and narrow? You might need something that goes up, four grid lines because it's a long tower or something. And you can kind of just start seeing, how do you want to break up your space? So these are the things you can ask yourself once you have a grid, and it really will help you organize your thoughts. So let me before we get too far along, let's go ahead and make a grid on this guy. So this is our other design. We're going to go ahead again. I'm going to do it one more time. We're going to start with a rectangle. Okay. I'm going to make sure that rectangle is fully aligned on this artboard. And then I'm going to turn it into the stroke with a no fill. Then I'm going to go into object, path, split into grid. And I'm going to turn on my preview so I can see it and figure out how many. So here I might do a 4x3, say okay. So now I have my grid. I'm going to label it portrait grid. And I'm going to make a couple copies of it because I want to also make that I like a couple copies of it. And one of the copies, I'm going to turn that off and that one off. And this one, I have it selected, as you can see. I'm going to go to View, Guides, Make Guides. And so now it's a guide as well. So I have a portrait grid. And I'm going to call this, these are my guides. And then I can actually turn on my grid again and do the same thing. I can start by selecting it and then taking my shape builder and decide, how many blocks I want to combine to create a space, a module. And I think of them as modules. I think of them as modules. Okay, so here's this first module. I'm going to go ahead, select it again, use my shape builder tool, and I'm going to make a module right here, square. And I'm going to grab up there so I can see the difference. And you're going to start kind of just basing on what do you want to do. Okay. And start building out your grid. Remember, looking at our design example, you can see how what I'm talking about. There's a grid under here, and some of them are here you have a one whole row, here you have another row, a square, a rectangle, a rectangle, rectangle, a square, and so on and so forth. So you're going to do the same thing here. Okay. It'll be fun. I think it's fun to try to explore and kind of start thinking about layout and thinking about that balance of how we're going to organize these elements. Using all those design principles we used on the last project, you're going to put those into play in this project as you start thinking about balancing out your design.